Hello and welcome back, everybody, to Victory Road World Cup, sponsored by Elgato. My name is Sierra Hunter, and I'm here for the last round, joined with Costa. How's it going?
Going good, Sierra. Lovely to see you and to cast with you. It is going absolutely great. I think every single stream match that we've been able to have and cast over today have been really, really good. They've been quite insightful in the current meta that we've got, essentially, because, of course, the World Cup, with its, huge presence in the VGC meta right now, kind of forms its own bubble of its meta in a way. So I do really like to see, any sorts of counter-teaming or more niche picks that are actually opted to be brought from these players, maybe in anticipation of their opponent's playstyle as well. So absolutely been loving it so far.
Yeah, every match today has been fantastic, and I mean, we got a little sneak peek. This last match is going to be absolute fire as well. A lot of different Pokemons being able to kind of find their way into this, with this Victory World Cup meta, and being able to watch them all in action is something I can surely appreciate.
Exactly, and we've got a firecracker of a set for you lovely people for this last match. It is going to be a match of United Kingdom versus Brazil, and we've got William Tansley versus Gabriel Agati. We're going to go ahead and transition to the next screen to go ahead and check out the current situations. We did actually see a match from this group earlier on. I believe it may have been the second stream match where it was between Bolivia and Chile. So we're actually seeing the other side of the field right now. UK versus Brazil. Currently Brazil is in the lead 1-0 with Andre Fufumis actually being able to get that win and edge it out versus Matt Carter. I believe it was maybe a few hours ago. So very fresh result there. And I think Will's going to try to go all out to try to go ahead and tie this up for the UK.
Yeah, of course, a 2-1 victory, being able to get Brazil in the lead right out of the gate is something that, of course, always want to be going for. So, of course, Gabriel is going to want to take this victory to try and secure a bit more of a lead, getting, a win for Brazil all around. And the teams that we can already see these players have, that their teammates have already had, fantastic. So I'm excited to see what teams that we're going to be featuring today.
Yeah, so I did actually, I'm going to probably say a comment there. I did see a Hitmontop, but of course we're going to start off with Will's side of the field, rocking the Zacian, Entei, Rillaboom, Regieleki, Milotic, and the Landorus Therian there. So very interesting, of course. Sierra, you do have that Fire, Water, Grass core, and you got the Zacian being such a strong Pokemon. Honestly, one of the essentially weights, or heavyweights, should I say, of the current meta. As long as you're able to position it quite well and you've got that support, it's able to do exceptionally well and just get those results for you.
Yeah, that Fire, Water, Grass core is something that's been so strong, but sometimes more so with Pokemon like Incineroar or Urshifu. So being able to see the Milotic and the Entei is certainly exciting on this team. And, of course, heading over to Gabriel's team here. I mean, you were talking about seeing a Hitmontop, and sure enough, there is one here as well, staying true to the logo, which, I mean, I absolutely adore. And some other fantastic picks. There's going to be the Zacian this time around, but it couldn't be on a more different team here. I mean, there's that Incineroar. There's going to be a Landorus, but it's going to be the incarnate form instead, rounded out with a Dragapult and an Amoonguss.
Yeah, so very interesting pick for Gabriel on his side of the field, of course. You do, like you did mention, of course, Sierra, there are the couple of picks there that you wouldn't actually opt to think is the kind of norm, but Dragapult starting to slowly find a way back into the meta. I do know there are quite a couple of Focus Sash Dragapults, which could honestly really have a good spot in the current meta, try to get some threats off up against, let's say, opposing Calyrex Shadow Riders in certain scenarios. But commonly with how the Zacians are currently being built, Dragapult does actually outspeed them, because Zacians don't tend to go for the full speed investment. Now they want that tiny bit of bulk, so as well as having that support on the side. You've got the Incineroar, the Amoonguss, the Amoonguss actually being an option that you would probably see more on, let's say, Xerneas teams. But Amoonguss, the fact that it's such a great Pokemon, it fits on any team, honestly. And the Hitmontop there, Also, like you did mention, Sierra, bit of a shout out there to that logo of the Capoeira fighting Hitmontop for Brazil. I'm sure we'll be able to go and pay dividends with that mascot being put into the action here. As of course, just want to make a very quick note. Very experienced trainers from both sides of the field, so a very fiery match set up for us to watch right now.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to see how these teams are going to pair into each other. I mean, Zacian has been such a strong, dominant, restricted in Series 10, but these teams are so different in how they've built around it, which is something that I really, really like. It's not, I mean, you get restricted like Kyogre, and you know what other Pokemon are going to be on the team, maybe a couple swapped up, but Zacian can really be on such a variety, which is fantastic. And Gabriel, with a lot of things to deal with imposing Zacian, like with the Incineroar being able to get those Intimidates, but also, as you were talking about, with that Dragapult.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragapult is such a niche, nice pick here. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to pay as much, put in as much work, should I say, in this current matchup, because I think the Entei on Will's side, honestly, really threatens that Zacian, so I would expect Gabriel on their side of the field to bring that redirection if they can, because they're going to be able to have a way to kind of neutralize the amount of support that this Amoonguss could actually bring for Gabriel's side of the field, so it may be just a battle of being able to get the certain checks off of the field, have those pivoting actions going, maybe get the Intimidates and those fake outs from Incineroars, as of course this is going to be a very, very strong battle between both these trainers, as we do see the leads coming out.
And to start is going to be the Landorus with that Amoonguss that you were just talking about on Gabriel's end, and it's going to be facing down against Entei and that Melodic here.
Yeah, so the Amoonguss, of course, is there not only for the redirection, but it can threaten quite substantially with those spores if it's able to essentially get them off and is allowed to do so, because you always have to be very cautious about whether it's going to go for redirection, goes for the spore, or even a protect there. But the Landorus will be wanting that redirection. It does directly threaten that Entei there, as actually we see the Amoonguss opt to go for the protect.
I'm just not risking anything, and it's going to say nice and safe as Entei did target a Flare Blitz down into it, and in return is going to be taking an Earth Power. No way it is holding on through that. Landorus picking up a clean one-hit KO on that first turn, really going to just make a stand. It's going to take an Icy Wind, not the strongest attack, known more so for, you know, dropping speed, but it's going to do a heavy chunk, as Landorus, of course, doesn't appreciate any sort of ice attacks.
Yeah, exactly. Because of that 4 times weakness that it does have to the ice typing there, it is able to deal so much damage, even if it is, of course, a lower base power move and a double targeting one there, as we do actually see the Zacian now on the field. So Milotic's still in a reasonably good position right here to try to get more pressure and lower that Landorus' speed as much as possible, but it always has to be cautious of that Amoonguss here. So Gabriel on their side of the field, I do really like their position. They've just got that redirection going for themselves, but of course it will depend on what the item is on that Amoonguss. Is it a Focus Sash? Does it have any sort of bulk and is trained to try to survive from a Behemoth Blade if it can, and maybe get a recovery going with any sort of berries? Of course we'll be able to see that coming into play soon, but something to really take note of.
And of course, no Rage Powder coming out, so no redirection, as this Zacian is free to start setting up a substitute, little more bulky, but Ice Beam, no redirection, means it's going to be a full power Ice Beam into this Landorus. Critical hit, not going to matter. It is going to go down, and Spore, you know, is going to be failing with that substitute out on the field.
Yeah, so I'd say amazing play from Will there. Just going for the very safe substitute. Of course, it will outspeed both the Amoonguss and that Landorus there. So quite free to go for it. And because of the fact that the Milotic actually had Ice Beam as well, it was able to go ahead and guarantee that KO. So not something that you normally see, the double ice moves coming out from the Milotic there, but absolutely worth in that scenario, as the Amoonguss essentially ignored. But then again, it wasn't able to get much off there, as the substitute was able to completely nullify any sort of spores being able to land in that slot. So I do really like the reposition here from Will's side. He's just playing it slow, but playing it consistently, because he's got that substitute up. He can no longer be affected by a spore, but he can go all out with the damage over onto Gabriel's Pokemon.
Oh, of course. And that's what it's going to start doing, as Behemoth Blade is the move of choice coming out to the Amoonguss. So we're going to be able to see how much it's going to do. And it does do a healthy amount of damage into that, as it goes back to hide behind its substitute, opposing Zacian with its own Behemoth Blade. I mean, such an amazing animation. We get to watch it twice here as it targets down into that substitute to go ahead and break it here, which, I mean, you want to get that out from behind the sub as soon as you can. Melodic, though, going to be finishing this Amoonguss off with an Ice Beam, so Amoonguss not going to be able to get up to any more shenanigans, and not having any opportunity to try and spore into William Zacian here.
Yeah, and it's what we were just talking about, having that Ice Beam. Oh my lord, we just see an Incineroar coming in as well, just being able to give that competitive boost for the Milotic there, skyrocketing it up to +2. But of course, what we were talking about, the fact that you have Ice Beam for Will's side of the field there, means that you can pick off that Amoonguss essentially from that HP range. You would not have been able to do that with the Icy Wind, so absolutely paying dividends. And we already see a scenario where Will is in the lead 3 versus 2 against Gabriel, and the Zacian, sure, it is still on Gabriel's side of the field. They do have the fake out access right now to use for this turn, but Milotic being at +2 special attack and resisting Behemoth Blades is not what Gabriel wants to go up against right now, so they're gonna have to try to bring this back if they can.
Incineroar with the fake out into the Milotic, not wanting to risk anything. I mean, that's the scary thing with all these Intimidate Pokemon running around. You have something that can get those boosts, and all of a sudden they can be the biggest nuisance here. Behemoth Blade, even a -1, is going to be dealing a healthy amount of damage, though it is going to be having to take an attack back as Gabriel, of course, firing back with the Behemoth Blade. This one is going to do a lot more, but not quite able to secure that KO there, as it's going to be left with 6 HP and stick around for one more turn.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, that is very, very good for Will's side, being able to survive that. But then again, you do have to take into consideration that this Milotic is not being targeted down right now. Gabriel, I don't think, has a direct way of dealing with it, unless, of course, they do have access to the Play Rough as a move of choice on that Zacian. But the Incineroar is essentially a sitting duck in this current situation, and Gabriel has to try to get rid of it, but then you do have the Zacian just able to go ahead, threaten to outspeed, and just go for the damage, as actually Gabriel's Zacian goes for the protect.
Yeah, not wanting to go down this turn, but William with the same idea here, also going to be protecting. So this Milotic is free to just hit a Scald into the Incineroar. Super effective, but does take it pretty well considering the competitive boost that happened, though it's not going to be able to do much, of course, firing a Flare Blitz into a Pokemon that is protected this turn.
Well, yeah, and you got a bit of leftovers recovery there from the Milotic, just meaning that it could go straight back up to 100% of its HP. So, of course, the Zacian at this point on Gabriel's side, it's got so little HP there. And you do see that acknowledgement from Gabriel's side saying, you know what, there is no way for me to try to bring this back. I did try. The Zacian over on Will's side did actually survive on 6 HP. Maybe it could have been a bit more of a chance to try to bring this back, but I don't actually think we got the reveal of Will's 3rd Pokemon there, so that's actually quite important going into this game too, as it would have given that additional insight to Gabriel's side in kind of the thought process of Will going into that game 1.
Yeah, if you're going to take the loss in game 1, you at least want to have that full information going into the game 2, knowing exactly where to adjust and what you can be doing to secure the chances of getting the win and take it to a game 3. So that's definitely really good news for Will going into this next match. And it's going to be a lot of pressure on Gabriel now to be able to adjust with that lack of information going into this match. And knowing that, you know, there is that substitute on the Zacian, you know, the Spores not going to be able to get through that, and needing a way to be dealing with this Milotic.
Yeah, and I think it was quite a high-octane game one there from both trainers, of course. It may have actually been a speed tie interaction that we may have witnessed between both of these Zacians too, so it's all up to battle, you know, like, it's very tough when you've got the same Pokemon speed tie on both sides of the fields. You don't know which one's essentially going to go first, as it is a coin flip, if of course they are. So I would like to see an adaptation from Gabriel, maybe trying to focus down a bit on essentially what Will did in game one there. The Amoonguss made a lot of sense, but they just have to be able to make sure that it's efficient enough to go into the spores that it can and offer that supportive pressure when it can, of course, too.
Oh, of course. And Gabriel, seeing that there is still use in this Amoonguss, even though it didn't get to do as much as it would have wanted in game one, is going to be leading with that in game two. Next to the Landorus, of course, then no adjustment from either player, as Will is going to be sticking with that Entei and Melodic lead that worked so well in game one.
Yeah, it really did, and if you're an Amoonguss and a Landorus and Tansley right now, you do not want to see this Milotic in front of you yet again. It's able to go ahead and put on so much pressure. It's got the speed control in the form of that Icy Wind, but also that Ice Beam. So Will actually bringing the Entei may have been in anticipation of this exact same lead from Gabriel's side, wanting to capitalize off of full momentum, having that Fire typing, as well as the Milotic right next to it, to maybe even pick up a very quick KO if it can in this game one to try to catapult their momentum going into turn two.
Looks like it's going to be the same as game one, though, a repeat of history. Though, I mean, even losing a Pokemon the first turn last time around, it still worked out really well for Will. So opting to go with the same thing, hitting that Flare Blitz into a protected Amoonguss, going to be return KO'd with this Earth Power, but going to be able to get this Icy Wind with this Milotic. So could have maybe adjusted for something else to not let that Entei go down, but at the same time, this worked out in the first game, and it's a very big repeat, but a repeat that worked out really well.
Yeah, Sierra, I think it's exactly the same turn one of game one as well. So there's a lot of mind games going into this because you're both aware that your opponent is very, very good and very experienced. So you're always in the mind games between, okay, are they going to do the exact same play or are they going to try to change it up? So Will may have anticipated a change up from Gabriel's side and may have thought, oh, okay, they might actually try to go for that Amoonguss there, go for the Spore instead of going for this very safe Protect there. But Gabriel said, no, I'm just going to stick to my original game plan. And in this way, it worked out terrifically for them. They're able to go ahead and get rid of that Entei. So Entei so far, 2 appearances in both games, but got KO'd just the same in turn one there. Allowing William to now bring that Zacian on the field. But the issue is that Amoonguss is still on the field. It is still capable of getting that redirection going, as the Icy Wind will not be able to pick up that Landorus if it does come out from the Milotic.
Yeah, instead of sub, now this is where we're getting the differences. Instead of sub, going to be going for that Protect, and this Melodic going for the Icy Wind. Getting that bit of chip on the Amoonguss, bringing the Landorus down real low, but of course, not having the same power as an Ice Beam would. It means it's not going to be securing that KO. Might not matter, though, as Earth Power is going to target into the Zacian and is going to, of course, connect into a Protect, but Amoonguss this time not going for the Sword Dog, instead going to be trying to deal with this Melodic that really got to run rampant in game one.
Yeah, and I do really like the fact that, of course, Gabriel wanted to try to make sure that they could try to cover whatever best they could. They were able to successfully get that Milotic to sleep, essentially, and have that guaranteed turn of sleep the subsequent turn. So the Amoonguss right now is very free to go for that Rage Powder, and the Landorus should be able to pick up a KO on the Zacian if it does stay on the field, as we actually see it do so and go for the Behemoth Blade. Yeah,
Behemoth Blade coming out. Zacian, of course, so strong, and this Landorus having not much HP means that it is going to be taking it out and at least dealing with that huge threat. A little slower than in game one, but still being able to get it down without hit. But no substitute means that this Amoonguss is going to be able to spore the Zacian as well. So both Pokemon asleep on Will's end here.
Yeah, I mean, my lord, Gabriel is just being completely unfazed, not opting to go for protect at all with their Landorus there, just wanting to slow play it, put the Zacian to sleep. I'm not sure what their mindset was maybe there. Maybe anticipating a substitute could be the scenario. Going for that Earth Power, taking advantage of not letting Will take that momentum with the substitute makes a lot of sense. That may have been Gabriel's play there, but unfortunately for themselves, it wasn't able to work out as well. But then again, of course, Will does have both of his Pokemon put to sleep. Sure, the Landorus is gone, but the Zacian is now on the field and is threatening a lot of damage. And of course, we haven't seen the reveal of the third final move, or at least not yet, from that Zacian to know what other kind of coverage or even maybe a substitute if it does carry it, of course.
At least Gabriel is going to have that insight of the last and final Pokemon here on Will's end, which is going to be that Landorus coming out and Intimidate. It's really nice in at least being able to drop the attack of Gabriel's Zacian here, as it is going to go for that Behemoth Blade. Of course, it's Awakened well, it gets to target, and it's going to be dealing an attack into that Landorus, though. After that, Intimidate is not going to be as impactful as it potentially could. It's going to be taking Rocky Helmet damage in return, but at least Milotic is going to be taking another turn of sleep. Gabriel covering for that, though, sporing into that slot.
Yeah, just in case the Milotic did wake up, or if there was a switch out in that slot. But if it was the second case, then unfortunately the slot was the incorrect one, as the Landorus did come in onto the field. Very important to get those Intimidates down and to try to wear down the damage output of the Zacian, as it may be forced to go for a switch out in this scenario over on Gabriel's side. And the Landorus having the Rocky Helmet there is something that we have been seeing pick up quite a bit. It's able to go ahead and break any potential focus sashes, but deal very reliable damage over time as well.
Speaking of reliable damage, Gabriel going to be just going for another Behemoth Blade here into the Landorus, bringing it down real low, only holding on with 24 HP, but sticking around means it has the opportunity to cause some trouble. Hitting an Earth Power into the Amoonguss, not really doing too much. Milotic going to be taking yet another turn of sleep, though, as Pollen Puff is going to be coming out from this Amoonguss and being able to heal up all of this Rocky Helmet damage that the Zacian's been taking.
Yeah, we're talking about how effective Rocky Helmet is, not when there's a Pollen Puff Amoonguss by your side, as this Amoonguss has not been threatened at all right now. It's been allowed enough space to essentially run away with momentum, even though it's such a slow Pokemon. Its presence on the field is so substantial for Gabriel's game plan right now. Landorus is not in a good spot. It is susceptible to either being put to sleep or getting KO'd, but I spoke too soon. Protect comes out.
Yeah, Protect is a surefire way to not get KO'd, at least in this turn. And with that Protect means Milotic finally has that opportunity to be waking up and fire off an Ice Beam into the Amoonguss, though it's going to be put right back to sleep, unable to secure that KO as much as Will has been trying to chip it down. Means that the Amoonguss has another turn to just be a nuisance out on this field.
Yeah, Milotic, of course, being put to sleep for so many turns was quite bad for Will, as it just didn't essentially wake up at all. And the moment it does, it's just put back to sleep again. It's like, no, Milotic, I do not want you to run away with this game and essentially try to win this through, as we do see the failed attempt of the second Protector.
Yeah, going for the second Protect. I mean, this Zacian is going to be outspeeding, and a neutral Zacian still going to be hitting for a lot. And not that Landorus had too much going for it anyways. So unable to find that double Protect means it is going to be going down. Milotic still sleeping. Will's last Pokemon in the back still sleeping. And I mean, at this point, this Pollen Puff can just start going for damage.
Yeah, I mean, any chip right now is valuable because, of course, the Zacian is still at full HP. You know, there's no point going for that side Pollen Puff just yet, as the Milotic had that guaranteed turn of sleep there. As we do see, I mean, talk about sleep, we see the, you know, Zacian on Will's side still asleep, of course, does land on the field, but Gabriel's Amoonguss has been absolute MVP right now. It's been allowed essentially to try to get those spores off and have the redirection. I mean, we haven't actually seen redirection so far yet, as in the form of Rage Powder. It's just been going for Pollen Puffs, Protects, and Spores, and this has been working out so well for Gabriel, which has just been able to completely slow down this game too, and to allow the Zacian to just go ahead slowly yet surely pick up the necessary KOs that it needs to. So I wouldn't be surprised to actually see the Zacian switch out at some point, maybe to try to refresh that Intrepid Sword boost, but it's not going to be this turn though.
Not going to be this turn, as the opposing Zacian is going to be sleeping, which means Gabriel is free to fire a Behemoth Blade into that slot as well. I mean, that's still a lot of damage minus reset. Milotic finally waking up, gets to go for the Ice Beam, and is finally going to take down this Amoonguss. But the Amoonguss got to do so much in this game. Everything it missed out on in that first game, it got to accomplish. But even with as much as it did, this Milotic's still, frankly, terrifying as it sits there at full HP.
Yeah, and if I'm Gabriel, I do not want to have an oh my lord, I was just going to say it. I do not want to have an Incineroar right now, unless, of course, Gabriel finds a way to circumvent this Milotic's, you know, like, authoritarian presence in this game. Right now, it's just been given a +2 special attack boost, Sierra, so it just needs to get shut down, and I think Gabriel recognized that, tried to go for the Spores there, put it to sleep, but they just need to get that HP down from it, because it just keeps on recovering every turn it has damage already inflicted onto it via that leftover. So they need to try to focus down on it, but of course, then again, the Zacian you can't completely ignore. Maybe in this scenario you just go for that Flare Blitz, as there's no fake outs.
Yeah, and Amoonguss gone, and everything's starting to wake up, as Will Zacian is going to wake up and fire off a Behemoth Blade. Despite that Intimidate doing a lot of damage here, Play Rough finally revealed from Gabriel's end, though, is going to do about half damage, but it's also going to get an attack drop, which, I mean, Milotic loves that. Competitive getting yet another boost. This special attack is absolutely insane. I mean, Scald was already going to do a lot. The critical hit to boot, just for that extra salt in the wound there. And this Incineroar, by itself, is going to go for the Flare Blitz into the Zacian. Is going to be picking up that KO, but it's going to be taking some recoil, and it's going to be left in 1v1 versus this absolutely terrifying Milotic here.
Incineroar is a very scared kitten right now. It does not want to go up against this +4 1v1 versus the Milotic. Very unfortunate for Gabriel there, because honestly, I don't think they have a answer at all for this Milotic. They just need to try to just wear down the damage as best as possible and go for the Spores that they already did. As the Milotic at +4, of course, Sierra absolutely knocks Incineroar out. I don't think the critical hit mattered at all, and Will was just able to, honestly, decisively win this 2-0.
Yeah, I feel at that point, the critical hit is just for a little victory, you know? I mean, at +4, there's no way that Incineroar is going to be sticking around, especially if it only had Flare Blitz to be firing back with. So, Will able to take that in a 2-0. The Amoonguss was able to do so much, but unfortunately, the Milotic was just able to do more, and despite being able to put a bunch of things to sleep and try and get some momentum, it just wasn't enough there, especially with the Incineroar in the back. The Incineroar is such a strong Pokemon, but if there's anything that can utilize the Intimidate, it's something like in Milotic with that competitive boost, and being able to just utilize that and fire back with a huge Scald. I mean, there's nothing that can be done.
There's nothing, honestly, there really isn't, because you've got the Icy Wind, Ice Beam, Scald being the moves of choices, the offensive ones on that Milotic there, and the Icy Wind shuts down the Landorus over time, or in general, doesn't allow you to have that free switch in at the back, because anything that switches in is going to have that -1 in its speed, so not the best scenario, and then essentially you just don't have an answer if you're Gabriel to that Milotic. I can't think of a solid answer that does not essentially resist it in that scenario. Maybe a Dragapult somehow, but then that's directly threatened by the Zacian. So it all depends on the item choice as well on that Pokemon. But the Amoonguss, as we saw offensively, it didn't have anything better to try to target down the Milotic. It only had that Pollen Puff, apologies. So it didn't have access to, let's say, a Grass Knot or an Energy Ball or Giga Drain there to maybe try to do something whilst it's asleep. So very unfortunate for Gabriel there. I don't think they had a solid matchup against the Milotic, but Will accurately and decisively went ahead, completely utilized the Milotic and said, listen, I think Milotic could do so well in this matchup. And honestly, it did so well. It was able to win it out from them. And of course, Will did play exceptionally well. And he did the best he could. He got that 2-0 win for United Kingdom. Fair play.
Oh, for sure. That Milotic literally just came out at the beginning of the match, sat there, and was there till the end. I mean, there was nothing to really do to it, as it just was able to command the board with the icy winds, get the speed control, the ice beams to take those KOs, and eventually the Scald to finish off the game, and just really proving as a huge standout in that set.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agreed there. So, of course, that does mean that United Kingdom have been able to tie up the state of affairs right now. 1-1 United Kingdom versus Brazil. So, quite important, especially, of course, since there's so many more matches left to be played out between these two great countries. So, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they will, of course, end. But from us, I think it's been a great day. I mean, I've honestly really enjoyed all the matches we've had in store, and I honestly hope that you all have as well at home. That will be us for today. Unfortunately, I know, I can hear people unsatisfied. That was our last match. I wish there was more too, but that's just going to be it from us today. Thank you so much, Sierra, for joining us. Maybe not so to Jamie, but who knows. But we will be back tomorrow, of course, where we will be able to feature the second stream day of this weekend. So don't go, of course, too far. Let's come back same time, of course, Saturday and Sunday. This has been Victory Road, the World Cup Pokemon VGC, sponsored by El Gato. Thank you so much, and we hope you have a lovely night.